All right, everyone, welcome back to the Impact Defense Podcast, Season 2, Episode 6. I said it all again.
All right, guys, in this episode, we are joined once again by Tim from Cornered Hill Firearms.
And we have a live studio audience today as well, don't we? We actually do, yes.
All right, guys, if you noticed Kylie's new awesome shirt over there, this says "No Grit, No Glory." That is a Hold Fast shirt. So we have a new sponsor of the podcast, Hold Fast. If you go to the link in the description, you can check out. They have all kinds of really awesome shirts. I have this one that says "Fight the Good Fight, Hold Fast." It's a really good shirt. They got a lot of awesome shirts over there. Check them out in the link in the description. All right, so we actually just wrapped up a really awesome class.
As a matter of fact, we did.
Yeah, and we wanted to go ahead and just get a podcast on this. I think we have a couple of little places on us. I think, Tim, you might have the worst one, actually.
Yeah, I think I do. Won't be the first time.
We did a room clearing class with Tim. Tim sent me an email and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming and doing a room clearing class?" And we jumped on that one very quickly.
Yep.
So it was pretty good. Haven't done this in a while. And,
Yeah.
I've had people asking me to do it for quite some time. And I thought, well, the problem always is, how do you do it? Where do you do it? Safety is obviously the most important thing. So that's what has always been my concern, is being able to do it and do it safely.
Right.
So, and we moved into our new location, 107A Main Street, Hudson, North Carolina, 28638. And we are able to do this kind of stuff in here now because the place is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And how different was this trying to kind of move this from the idea of, because you did this in the military, you
Correct.
taught this in the military a lot. So like, how do you do this to now kind of moving to civilians?
So a lot of it is tempering what I say. Right? So I would always be much more harsh than I am here. Understanding, these are not professionals doing this.
Right.
And so they're going to make a lot of mistakes.
I feel almost insulted a little bit.
We're just going to, take our time, take it slowly, and just cover basics. I mean, we're not going to make, professional room clearers out of everybody. It's something that everybody's interested. A lot of people are interested in doing.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to kind of break them into, different aspects of what they may have to do one day, God forbid, in their own house.
Right.
And so really, this is not a high-speed thing. We're just covering the basics. But it's a lot of fun. It gives people an experience that they probably have never had. And I think it went really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It went way better than I had hoped for today.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you said that we were going to be guinea pigs for it, and I think it was excellent. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's why, we discussed before when I host you to do the same thing down there at our facility as well in Lexington.
Yeah, and we will be down in Lexington, and we will get everything set up.
Yeah.
And, it's all prototype right now, right?
Yeah.
Because we're doing it indoors, and something we've never done in this sector before, and so everything's a prototype here today.
Yeah.
Learned a couple lessons putting it together. So,
I think the force on force aspect of it was really good. I enjoyed the tactics and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of learning some of the things, and then learning that some of the things I thought were correct were not, which is why I always love coming up here and training with you, because I always see, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'd heard that, but I see why that doesn't really work in reality. And then taking that and then kind of moving to that force on force part of it, because we did the training, we talked about techniques, and then we did some walkthroughs and some different things with some static targets, and then we kind of moved to that force on force.
And it was kind of, I want to ease into how I say this, but it was kind of a free-for-all, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
but it was fun.
Any kind of force on force stuff. We do our, when we're doing like our Defender weekends, we do these things. We bring people in, by the time we get to the actual drills, man, our last day, there's a lot of free for all, because you kind of within bounds,
Sure.
It has to be that way.
It's fun. So the force on force stuff was just intended to, okay, let's see what you learned, and let's kind of put an aggressor in there or two aggressors or whatever.
Yeah.
And let's have some fun with it and see who comes out, or if you come out on top, or if you get whacked. So,
Yep.
That's
I was on both ends
really
of that.
what it was all about.
Won
right?
sometimes, lost sometimes.
I even took one in the face. So.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
We got just a couple of videos on these. I'm sure Kylie will overlay these.
Yep.
Those as we're talking.
And you guys will see it is just a free for all. This is not a professional. Everybody is in no way professional.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's the first time.
Correct.
Other than you, I don't think anybody's done anything like that.
Right.
So it was just a completely different experience. I've done a lot of shooting and even done a lot of shooting under pressure and different things like this, but clearing a room,
it's a whole different
that's
ballgame,
different.
Isn't it? I mean, if you remember, when we first met years ago, you started taking like the basic instructor classes and things like that. And then when we moved into the more advanced shooting instructor classes, and I said, throw away everything that you know, because this is a whole different animal. And obviously you don't throw away everything you were taught, but defensive combat shooting is completely an entirely different animal than standing in front of a target at,
right.
10, 15 feet and popping holes in it,
Yeah.
It's completely different animal. Well, now we've gone
You would take
to
that
a
even
whole
further.
different
Yeah.
zoo, right? We're not just looking at even the same animals. We're just in a different zoo now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I know I try to explain that to when I'm teaching concealed carry classes, especially because, you do all the concealed carry classes, which is basically just teach the law and then go out there and shoot on a flat range, a paper target and all this. And I try to explain to everybody that's not real. It's not defensive shooting.
No, it's
and
not.
until people really take the classes to kind of understand the difference between actual defensive shooting and then it's a completely different ball game. So I always encourage them to get more training. And I would just say any of the listeners, wherever you are, find some training to get you actually doing something other than just standing on a flat range shooting paper.
Yeah, because that really does you no good out in the real world. Or, the kind of stuff we were doing today is more like, God forbid, somebody breaks into your home. And you don't ever want to go hunt them, even in your home, even though you know the ground layout, you know everything. Right. You still want your family in a safe room and, call the police and make your stand in your safe room. You don't, because you don't know how many intruders there are.
Right.
Typically, according to statistics these days, the average home invasion has 4 intruders.
Yeah.
And so unless you got cameras everywhere, which I do, but unless, most people don't, unless you got cameras everywhere, you're really not going to know where they are.
Yeah.
And if you don't have cameras everywhere, you should get some cameras because you want to know where people are if they're coming into your home, right? So you want to be as prepared as you possibly can. And hopefully this kind of gave you some ideas on tactics on how to, if God forbid, your family member's on the other side of the house and you have to get to them. Hopefully you picked up a few things that'll be handy on how to move through and cover your corners and things like that. And, corner rooms and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
It's something that I definitely want to do again, for sure. I feel like it's one of those things, and I know it's like everything else. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Right. So it's just one of those things I just feel like I would need and want more practice on. It's just something I want to kind of repeat again and again a few times to kind of give a good idea of what can expect, different things. Get better at it.
And we will definitely come down to Lexington and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now that you kind of see how we did it here, you can kind of tailor it toward, your space there. And I think we could probably set up pretty easily.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Kylie?
So beforehand, I was really...
What kind of expectation did you come with?
I came actually with, it was going to be a whole lot worse than it actually was kind of the way that... I thought there was going to be a whole lot more force on force than there actually was. Because whenever one of my cousins found out that I was doing it, they were like, show me the welts afterward. I'm hoping there's not going to be that many welts. But if I do anything new, I'm typically expecting the worst to happen rather than, the easiest thing to happen, basically.
So the force on force at the end was kind of a fun free for all, just to kind of, blow off some steam. But you're right. We did not focus heavily on force on force. The entire, first part of it, the first probably 2/3 of it was all, okay, this is how you want to come in. This is how you want to clear. So it was all. It was not force on force heavy at all.
Right.
And that was kind of at the end, just to kind of blow off some steam and have fun at the end.
Yeah.
So how do you think everyone else did in the class?
I think everyone else did okay.
Do you think they enjoyed it?
Yeah, I think they definitely enjoyed it. Yes.
Knowledgeable?
Yes.
Learned something?
Yes.
I'm giving you open-ended questions here, and you're giving me yes.
No, I think it was just really cool and very eye-opening. And
So tell me what was eye-opening to you. Let's talk about that.
okay. So as I was saying earlier, there is things that in your head that you have, when you're going into something like this, you think that it's going to go a certain way or everything, and it just does not. Like I said, I was on both ends of that, kind of won some scenarios, kind of lost some scenarios. And in both of those, you really kind of learn a lot because they never go the way you expect them to go.
That's right.
Yeah. And when you're going in, and we had six rooms?
6 rooms.
6 rooms to clear.
Yeah.
So we come in and we never knew exactly where the person was going to be. And
some of the rooms were static, so they were the same.
Yeah.
But one room was definitely not static.
And that one room that we could move around also completely changed the layout of everything and had to change the strategy. Because when you went through and you said, oh, okay, that room is now different, and I was not in the group that the whole room got changed on, but Kylie was.
The thing is, I had to go back inside to grab safety glasses, and by that point, I had seen that it had been moved.
Oh, did you warn everybody?
I tried to. I'd said something. I did say
So
something.
John's over there shaking his head. No,
I look back
nothing.
and no.
At least I
She
thought
just
I
left
said
us
it.
out to dry.
I said, by the way, the room is moved.
Apparently, you didn't get that to
my
your
voice
team.
didn't get heard, or I just said it inside my head. Either one could have happened.
That's possible. You are your mother's daughter. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was really interesting as we were moving the room on them, and I thought, yeah, this is going to suck for them. You know.
It is.
But in all
because it's a whole
honesty,
new
I
place,
didn't
right?
know. Yeah, I didn't know if you guys even figured that part out because we were moving it and it was taking so long to get things moved around and so much noise moving the tables and everything. I didn't know if you guys realized it was being changed or not.
Nope, we were just.
You kind of thought it was? Yeah.
I didn't think so. I was just stretching.
So
Yeah.
what kind of expectation did you come with? Let's talk about that.
You know, in all honesty, I just expected it to be fun.
Yeah.
I've said it
was
before.
it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've said it before. For me, I always want to grow. And if I'm in a situation where I feel like I am kind of lost at the moment, or if I'm in a subject matter that I'm not really sure about,
Right.
then I know I'm growing. So that's kind of the thing for me is this just looking at how, am I putting myself in a situation where I'm learning something and kind of growing as an instructor, as just a defender in some way or form or fashion, and that's my goal. I want to be a better protector, a better defender, and everything. And as long as that's meeting that, I just want to go to those type situations. And I always know that when you have something like that, it's going to stretch me,
And it's going to be fun.
yeah.
So, I mean, I know what we do is serious, and we deal with life and death.
You have
right?
to make that but you have to make it fun.
But you gotta make it fun.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun. If it's not fun,
Yeah.
nobody's going to learn, and they're certainly
Exactly.
not going to want to come back, and they're not going to want to tell their friends. And,
Yeah.
you know.
That goes for like little dragons as well. Like I teach 3 to 6 year olds at karate, and if you don't make anything like if they don't move around as much, they're gonna lose their attention on the teacher.
Right. Right.
So that's why I like kind of make it as fun as I possibly can whenever we're talking about like self-defense, because we go through like a certain theme, as I like to call them, for a month. This month is gonna be sparring, and just getting them to know like the basic idea about sparring and what it is the main goal for that, but also having them know the basic techniques as well and just making it fun for them is something that I really push on a lot of assistants, is making sure that their energy is higher than they actually feel, because then the little dragon's energy will be higher because they feed off of that energy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're dealing with kids or adults. If you don't take a serious subject and make it fun to learn, nobody's going to learn anything. Nobody's going to come back and keep training. Anything.
And that's the big thing. We want people to come back and train, right? Because you guys have heard me say it for years now. You need to train, and then train some more. Because first of all, shooting is a perishable skill. The less you do it, the worse you're going to get, and the older you get, the worse you're going.
Well, that's pretty much anything when it comes to defense. If you're trying to defend yourself or protection, however you want to look at it, if you're not training and working on it, it's not one of those things where you just get to a certain point and then you just stay there. Everything will start to diminish after a while.
I have a really good friend of mine, and he said, Tim, everyone's a legend in their own mind. So, you remember what you used to be able to do, and you think you can still do it. Well, if you're not out there training, you cannot still do it. You cannot. I've gone to classes and just kind of been humbled at, God, I should be doing so much better. It's like, well, you passed the class, but passing the class is not my, my goal. Passing the class is not the measure of success for me.
You and I had that discussion one time because I came out and I did something. I don't remember. I've come out here and trained with you a lot. So I came out here and trained, and it was like I did everything at a passable level, but I was like, I know that is not, because I rode with you and we were talking about that on the ride back. I was like, man, that was not at the level that I'm used to performing at.
Right.
And I was very upset. And I know you told me that, you'd done that. You're like, oh, you're passable. But I understand. It's very upsetting. I don't want to just pass, man. I want to perform at a certain level.
That's correct.
Yeah.
My family expects me to be able to perform at a certain level. I expect myself to be able to perform at that level.
Yeah.
And if I'm not doing that, I'm not just failing myself, I'm failing my family.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what most people who come and take a concealed carry class, for example, they don't understand that.
No.
They don't have that mindset. And I'm not banging on people who come and take a concealed carry class. But you got to remember, you're carrying a tool that is designed to take a life.
Right.
That is what that tool is designed to do. And if you are not proficient in the use of that tool, either you are going to die or, God forbid, you'll kill an innocent bystander.
Right.
Out there, right. And then, kind of flows into what we're doing here because, it's great you're carrying your gun, but do you carry your gun in your house? What do you do with your gun when you walk into the house? If somebody kicks your door in and comes in, how are you going to respond? How are you going to defend your house? So many people, they take their gun as soon as they walk in the house, put it in a safe. Well, that's great, and that's good if that's what you do.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
Your gun is properly secured. But the question is, how do you now defend yourself and your family when your gun's in your safe? And the options could be, hey, I got multiple safes in my house, and that's great, put one safe on one end of the house, another, and I'm going to throw about, you don't have to have a huge safe, just little desktop, digital safe that you can keep a handgun or 2 or 3 or 5 in, and, get to it when you need to.
Yeah. Well, I heard about for the purposes of and this is off subject of whatever we've been talking about, but even for purposes of like a house fire or something like that, they said it's a lot better to have multiple safes throughout your house than it is to have one safe because that one safe can get damaged enough to where even if it might protect the guns for the moment, if it melts the ways to get in, which I've actually heard of that happening, they have to cut into it, then it's going to damage the guns. So it's better off to have your guns kind of spread out a little bit in multiple safes because some places in the house will be worse than others. Right. So, that's a completely different situation, but another reason why you might want to consider that.
Multiple safes.
Yeah.
There's a cornucopia, a plethora, if you will.
Yeah.
But,
Tim with his words.
I can't help it.
All right, if you guys enjoyed this podcast, subscribe, and click that bell notification. That way you can find out whenever we have another episode of the podcast.
All right, guys, we'll see you in the next episode.